This video is the first part of a series detailing many concerning aspects of online groupthink, which the anti-Onision crowd has showcased to a grotesque degree in recent months. For this purpose, many screenshots of actual comments will be used. There was simply too much material for a single video, therefore each one will focus on a specific issue. In order to avoid anyone feeling targeted or in danger of harassment, which is contrary to the message of this video, identifying information will be partially redacted, such as usernames and avatars when they contain an actual photograph. The identity of those who engaged in the witch hunt is not relevant, but rather the fact that they were so easily driven to do so. Channel names will be left in place, as these are people who purposefully agitated their viewers and kept fueling the situation, leaving all types of comments in place, including those calling for murder, prison rape, suicide, kidnapping and those inciting for a mob to storm Onision's house. This video focuses on a crucial question, whether the anti-Onision crowd cares about the law. Although the answer should be clear after what was listed seconds ago, let's go into details. Apparently, their main drive for the past few months has been to make sure someone doesn't get away with criminal offenses. Therefore one would think they are highly preoccupied with matters of justice and compliance with the law. First, their belief in the narrative that Onision and his spouse would be jailed arose out of allegations with no evidence behind them, therefore the presumption of innocence was in order. They were at the time, and still are, focused on people who have not been charged with any crime, let alone convicted. These folks however wanted to assume the roles of law enforcement, prosecutor, judge, jury, and executioner. This means they don't respect the concept of due process, by refusing to let it run its course, before declaring someone guilty when they didn't even have clarity regarding the laws that had allegedly been broken. Contrary to the values of modern justice, which are based on evidence and fairness, they resembled a lynch mob on the streets of Pakistan. They did not hesitate to waste the time of the police and CPS repeatedly, with many phone calls prompting visits to Onision's home, which never resulted in any action being taken, as none was needed. The local police were flooded with phone calls from people who only knew the family through the internet. Some of these calls were failed swatting attempts. This treatment was also given to people who voiced dissent regarding the mob's actions. Swatting is an extremely serious issue, leaving people at best with psychological trauma, and at worst leaving them in the hospital or morgue, if they react in ways that might prompt law enforcement to injure or kill them. Attempting to cause this in a malicious manner is no less than abominable. There was also a great degree of ignorance regarding what Onision might be charged with. The main drive was to get him for something, anything at all, no matter how irrelevant or unrealistic. Somehow they fail to understand that when someone is accused of a crime, they are not on trial for everything they've ever done or allegedly done wrong. People were going as far as looking into his discharge from the Air Force, speculating about irregularities. Another common theme was picking on tax issues which were dealt with separately, or even a dead tortoise, whom he forgot in hot weather conditions years ago. That is the level of ignorance we are talking about. To add to that, they engaged in wishful thinking regarding prospective sentencing, some going as far as thinking the death penalty was a possibility. Keep in mind they were not even sure which laws had been broken, if any, let alone what the consequences might be if he had been found guilty. The concept of defamation is also alien to these people, who are now beginning to realize the prospect of an arrest, let alone a conviction, is not looking realistic. Some people take delight in the damage caused to the couple's reputation, even if it turns out they didn't commit any crimes. Needless to say, that is not a healthy or normal attitude. The normal attitude when realizing one has been falsely accused is either to apologize or at least to leave things alone. It is certainly not to rejoice in having caused enough damage already to their life with those false accusations. The desperation to see him jailed for something was such that some resorted to ludicrous speculation, most of which is too gross to voice, but will be added in the video containing the collection of worst absurdities. Suffices to say some people were claiming Onision had murdered a woman and hidden her body in the swamp behind his house. They seem unable to differentiate reality from fevered imagination, and also unable to understand one cannot go around making such claims. Now that we have clarified the ignorance and obtuseness, let's get into the law-breaking these people were encouraging or hoping for. To avoid bothering with trespassing, we'll start with encouraging the gathering of a mob to storm Onision's house, some adding the wish to kidnap his children. Every creator noticing this in their comment sections should have removed the posts and discouraged such initiatives, since there was a chance of them becoming reality, considering the hysteria. None did, regardless, and thankfully this didn't happen, although people did go to the house and boasted about it on Reddit. Most worryingly, there were numerous threats of violence, as well as graphic descriptions of what that violence would look like. There was public encouragement of someone to go to the house and commit murder, with this hypothetical person being hailed as a hero. There are unfortunately many nutcases who fantasize about playing such vigilante roles, therefore the danger was not unrealistic, especially with Onision being publicly doxxed by Chris Hansen and so many displaying photographs of the house. Most of the murder-related comments followed the excessive coverage of an accident suffered last year by Onision's daughter, which had been classed as such after being investigated at the time. These people again refused to accept the mere concept of an accident, or admitted the possibility but only if it happened to any other couple. Many insane theories were put out there when the issue was widely publicized, and again, the creators doing this should have known better than to cause such hysteria, which was unrelated to the allegations in the first place. This shows they only trust the conclusion of an investigation when it confirms their narrative, and refuse to accept any other conclusion, claiming to know better than those who were at the scene. The same goes for the investigations done by CPS, most of which were a waste of everyone's time. Again, these people behind computer screens claim to know better than those who repeatedly went to that house and directly observed the situation. Additionally, many delighted at the thought of Onision being sexually assaulted in prison, after being outraged at the thought of any sexual misconduct on his part. That is some concern for the law right there. For further clarification of their unlawful mindset, let's briefly look through the Declaration of Human Rights, which they are ignoring. To start with, Article 3 states that everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. The latter, namely security of person, is very important here, as this crowd thinks it's acceptable to harass and stalk someone to the point of that person fearing for their life. Article 8 meanwhile states that everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or by law. This is mentioned here because people were shocked Onision dared to call the police when Chris Hansen trespassed on his property. Their shock was caused by the accusations against him, as if people who are publicly accused of something were suddenly not entitled to legal protection and should put up with any kind of treatment from anybody. Article 10 states that everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal, in the determination of his rights and obligations and of any criminal charge against him. Article 11 deals with the same matter. That is a far cry from trying to destroy someone's life before they have even been charged with any offense, and expecting others to collaborate, such as the platforms where this person makes a living. Article 12 clearly states that no one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. That is to say, people cannot just call CPS from all over the United States and expect something to happen on their mere word, or because there are certain suspicions. When they speak of children being removed with such ease, due to an online scandal, they are very far off base. Article 16 again states that the family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state. Which is a far cry from assuming a family can be forcibly broken up due to popular outrage, if there is no reason for local authorities to do so. Article 23 deals with the right to work, which is particularly important in this case and that of anyone targeted by a group of social justice warriors, as they routinely attempt to ruin someone's chances of earning a living. This is not limited to deplatforming someone who makes a living online. It usually consists of getting people fired from regular jobs, and ruining their reputation to the degree that no one will hire them. Article 27 states that everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts and to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. That runs contrary to cancel culture, which wishes to silence someone in perpetuity, as well as harass or persecute anyone wishing to associate with that person, seeking for that person to be isolated and invisible. In conclusion, one can safely say these people are not concerned with the law being broken, some being more than willing to break it themselves just to make a person's life more difficult. And even if their zeal supposedly derives from moral grandstanding, they are not concerned with human rights either. They are merely using the law and public authorities as weapons against someone they detest, no matter how far-fetched it all is. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this was interesting enough.